What is the difference between Eminem and Miley Cyrus? Well, Eminem has balls and Miley Cyrus does not. So what's so special about the testes? Well, this is the magical place where sperm is going to be made in a process called spermatogenesis. So let's go talk about that. So to understand it more clearly, we're going to zoom into Eminem's testes here and label some stuff, right? So we call this thing here, this little round part, the testes. This is where sperm is made. Now, what is this thing then above it? This is called the epididymis. And trust me, it has a very important function, which we'll talk about later. Now, let's slice open this whole thing to see what's going on the inside. So we slice it open and we see, wow, there's a lot of these teeny tiny tubules, a lot of these teeny tiny pipes. What do we call these? Both inside the testes and in the epididymis, right? Pipes everywhere. So we call these seminiferous tubules, right? So let's look. Let's look at one of these seminiferous tubules. So we're dragging it out and we're looking at it. Look, there's sperm inside because in these tubules is where sperm is made. So sperm is made inside the testes, inside these seminiferous tubules, okay? Sperm. That's how you spell it, by the way, sperm. Now, let's look at this pipe. So we're going to make this pipe and make it even bigger so it's even easier to see. So here we have the seminiferous tubule, right? So how do we start with this? We're first going to look and label some things. Look at this. What are these big yellow cells? We call these big yellow cells Sertoli cells. Now notice how there's a small space in between these cells, right? In between the Sertoli cells. Well, this is where sperm's made, in this teeny tiny space. So I made one of the spaces very big, so it's easy for me to bring in pictures and explain it, but it's not actually that big, okay? But it's made in between these cells. So how does it start? It starts off with a stem cell, okay? Now, before we get started, I want to quickly say something. So sperm is a very general term. Think about sperm like the word human. When I say think of a human, that's hard to ask, right? Because you may be thinking of an adult, an elderly, a baby, an adolescent, a teenager, right? Same with sperm. Sperm is a general term. There are many kinds of sperm. Young sperm, adult sperm, old sperm, okay? So sperm, the word sperm is very general. So this specific one, this stem cell, which is called spermatogonium. So it's a type of stem cell, a sperm cell. It's the very baby form of a sperm cell. Now, this spermatogonium is going to eventually become a mature sperm cell, a mature one. Now, it's going to divide and divide to make many of them in mitosis, right? Mitosis will divide and divide to form many, so we can form many sperm cells. Now, this one can either decide to divide again to make more spermatogonium, or they can decide to do meiosis. If they decide to divide, let's say this one decides to divide by meiosis, then we give it another name. So let's say this one now decided to divide by meiosis. So we're going to call it a primary spermatocyte. So this is a primary spermatocyte. Now these two will finish meiosis. They'll do meiosis too. Okay? So what do we call these cells then? These ones that divided by meiosis 1. We call them secondary spermatocytes. So what do we call these that were formed after meiosis 2? We call them spermatids. Spermatids, right? So these are going to be spermatids. Notice, they don't look anything like the sperm you think of, right? That's because they're not the final mature form. They don't have any flagellas or anything yet. But they will grow, differentiate, and become a proper sperm. This final form that you think of is called spermatozoa. Spermatozoa. Now, that's spermatogenesis for you. That's the basic steps. Now, this process doesn't happen by magic, right? Unfortunately, it doesn't. How does it happen? It helps with the help of our brain. So if we look at our brain, we have a small part called the pituitary gland. Coincidentally, it looks like balls, but it's not. Now, it makes two important hormones here. Two important things here. The LH and FSH, okay? LH, FSH. LH is luteinizing hormone. FH is follicle stimulating hormone. Now, these two are going to stimulate this process. How? Let me show you. This cell here is very important. So what's going to happen is LH is going to be released into the bloodstream. It's going to travel in the bloodstream all the way down to your testes, all the way to this little capillary, and it's going to come out and it's going to go to this cell here. We call this cell here Leydig cell. And it's easy to remember because LH goes to Leydig cell, L and L, right? So it's going to go to the Leydig cell for what reason? It's going to force this Leydig cell to make testosterone. It's basically telling it, okay, man, make testosterone. So it's going to make testosterone, and this testosterone will go towards this tubule, and it wants to go inside here, but it can't because testosterone hates water. It's hydrophobic. It's afraid of water. So it's going to stop right here, okay? So that's a problem. But FSH is going to help us. FSH is going to be released into the bloodstream as well, and it's going to travel all the way in the bloodstream, all the way to the testes, all the way to these seminiferous tubules, and go into these These Sertoli cells. And it's going to tell these Sertoli cells to make a molecule that's going to help this testosterone to be able to become soluble in water. So now that this molecule is made, testosterone will be able to go inside this water. And that's very important because testosterone is going to stimulate all of these processes, every single one of these steps, so that spermatogenesis can be complete. Not only that, right? Testosterone can not only go in here, but it can also go inside the bloodstream. Once it goes inside the bloodstream, it's going to go all over your body to make your muscles grow, to make your voice deeper, right? That's what makes men different from women. This little thing here, not only for spermatogenesis, right? When puberty starts, but also for everything else. Now, that's it. But one more thing, Sertoli cells are useful. Why? Not only do they make this molecule that I just mentioned, but they also help give nutrients like glucose and everything for these cells to grow. A cell needs glucose to grow and become bigger and bigger and bigger. Now, after the spermatozoa is made, it is good at swimming, but not great at swimming. So let's go back here. So it's going to be sent in these pipes from the testes all the way up here now, all of these spermatozoa, because here they will get stored for a long time and they will try and grow and become even better athletes. So basically the purpose of this here, the epididymis, is to store these spermatozoa and make them become even better swimmers so that they can fulfill their job very well later. Okay, so that's the purpose of the epididymis. Now, that is it for this video. Here is a diagram to explain the whole 2N thing, because this is a short video, so this is not going to be explained, but here's a diagram that can hopefully help with that. And here is this whole process explained in words.